Bump and Run with Bernie and Dahlby. Presented by Burrito Express, your local burrito joint. Now, here's Brett Bernheisel and Steve Dahlby.
Well, here we are. We took last week off, basically because I didn't want to have to listen to Schubert for 45 minutes talking about how good he is at fantasy golf. But for our French listeners, and I don't know if we have any, and I don't know how to pronounce this, but this is show 26, Dahlby. That's how you spell it in French. I just don't know how to say it. What's happening?
Well, I mean, Schu has been on a roll, so let's give him credit. He's been the hot guy picking golfers. So I understand that you wouldn't want to talk about it a lot, but he's the guy right now. Former caddy can't make a pick. Golf instructor can't make a pick. Radio broadcasting star.
Right. He's the casual golfer.
Is picking him.
All right. Speaking of picking, how about Scotty Scheffler, dude? Picking off the field the last 5 weeks. In 42 days, he's won 3 times, and now he's the number 1 player in the world. I mean, let's go back to before the waste management. Scotty Scheffler is a good player. I wouldn't have said great. I would have said really good. But now, my God, 3 times in 5 weeks? This guy's fucking awesome.
Well, and you think about the things that have happened for Scotty Scheffler in the last, 6 months. Obviously gets picked to play in the Ryder Cup and he played well. Steve Stricker showed confidence in him that he was one of the guys that he felt like could be a part of that team chemistry, would mesh well with all the guys. And there were a lot of personalities and he's just, he seems like just a good guy from Texas. I know he's a transplanted Texan, but good guy. And I think even his dad said that yesterday after the win. It was more like, I'm more proud of you for the man that you are and how you're handling this than the golf itself. But the golf itself has been damn good, and what a trajectory he's on, and it just shows how quick things can happen when you get hot. You go from a top 100 player to a top 50 player to now the number 1 player in the world.
So I got new puppies, and they have now blown the door open of the bunker, and now I have 3 of 4 dogs in here. So if you'll excuse me for about, 15 seconds while they tear the court apart, I'm going to exit them out. So bear with me, folks.
Well, leave the dogs in there. What's wrong with the dogs? And as you leave, we'll talk a little bit more about Scheffler. The thing that I'm impressed with Scheffler, and he's taught and been coached since a young man by a friend of mine, Randy Smith. Randy's a great instructor, Dallas based. He's been a PGA Tour Professional of the, or a PGA of America Club Professional of the Year. He's been a Teacher of the Year, well decorated, well respected in the ranks, and kind of one of the old school teachers. Randy's kind of one of the old school guys. And what I really like about Scheffler's game is you can just see that he is committed to basically playing one shot. He plays that cut like a lot of guys do now. And you commit to one shot, you master that shot. And it's not that he can't move it right to left if he wanted to, but you see this more and more where there are guys that are kind of playing more of what I would say a one-dimensional game, as opposed to, I got to move it right to left. I got to move it left to right. I've got to fit it in. Well, if you think about it, equipment, the ball is made to go straighter. The golf clubs make the ball go straighter. So if you can find one shot and you just feel really good about it, it's proven with a guy like Dustin Johnson, who went to the cut. It's been really, really good for him, and he played well in this event. You can see he's kind of coming on lately. He's trending the right way. But I talked to my younger players a little bit about that, and some of them think, well, I got to be able to do this, I got to be able to do that. And I'm like, you're 18 years old, you're not that good. Learn from these guys, commit to one shot. Maybe learn to cut it, maybe learn to draw it. And then I would say the second thing with my guys, the younger guys, is to learn to hit it low. And if you look, Bernie, you look at how, and especially on the PGA Tour, you look at how the ball chases out on those fairways. It makes sense to hit a ball low. And you look at a guy like Kevin Kisner, and I love Kisner. He's just that bulldog mentality, and he just keeps fighting away. But you look at his ball flight; it's kind of a flat ball flight. He gets it on those fast fairways, and he can still, with that, he can move it out there. And he played very, very well. He just was a little overmatched that last go.
Do you think, and I'm going to bring up a reference of mine, do you think that the addition of Ted Scott, Bubba Watson's former caddy, has, and it has to be something, because do you think it's because he's never won before, and then all of a sudden Ted Scott gets on the bag, 7-8 weeks ago, and all of a sudden we got 3 wins. What do you think the impact of that has played in this?
Well, and I think when you look at players where they kind of, they're playing good, but then something happens and it goes to another level, you've got to look at everything. Has there been a change in equipment? Has there been a change in coach? Has there been a change in the approach of playing? Has there been some mental game stuff that's gone on? And obviously, the caddy is a very important piece of the puzzle, and especially I think now where most of these guys feel like it's an individual sport, but every player feels like he has his team, and the caddy is an important part of that team. So you've got a well-respected caddy. I would think that the addition of Ted Scott, if nothing else, it just is like it's a confidence boost, but it may be that there's some things that he saw and brought to the table that could be very important to the success. What's your opinion on that?
Well, and that brings you to and I know it's completely different, but it isn't. Back in 2000, when I hooked up with Billy Judah, and Judah I think was 15th on the Korn Ferry Tour money list at that time, and there was only 6 tournaments left in the year. And I've told the story before. We got trashed at a bar, and I ended up saying I'd work for him when Bo Van Pelt was who I was going back to. And one thing led to another, and I'd never caddied for Judah before. And we finished 3rd, 4th, 15th, 6th, 7th in 5 tournaments. Now, I don't consider myself a great caddy. I wasn't. He wasn't a great player, and he'll admit that too. But we meshed, and we had success. And we went from 113th to, 41st, made it to the Tour Finals that year. And that's, I look at the Scheffler-Scott deal, and when Bubba Watson got rid of Ted Scott, or Ted Scott got rid of Bubba Watson, whatever, how that happened, I don't know. Ted Scott went to work for Adam Svensson for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden got hired by Scotty Scheffler. And, ironic as it is, the whole world changed, and now he's the best player in the world. So, yeah, I think it has a lot to do with it. Because, like I said, I wasn't a great caddy. Billy wasn't a great player. But together, we meshed and we're successful. Where Scheffler is a top-line player. Ted Scott is a top-line caddy. And I think just the two, it's a new face. It's a new voice. It's, everything's different. And I think they've absolutely just clicked. And you can tell how much fun they're having out there just by the demeanor of Scheffler. And I know demeanors change, when you're having success, especially after Phoenix. Then he goes down to the Arnold Palmer and wins that, and then he comes in here and just, kicks the shit out of everybody in this thing. I think it has a lot to do with it, but and in a personal opinion, I think we're going to see a lot more. This isn't just a fluke. You don't win 3 times in 5 weeks on 3 big tournaments and all of a sudden go away. I, I see this happening more and more coming up. I think we're seeing somebody who 7 or 8 weeks ago I wouldn't have said would be the number one player in the world, but I see him being there for a while. I really do.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at that, you think, well, if he's going to be there a while, now he may be a player of the year. And now the next step is obviously it's a big, big tournament. This is a World Golf Championship tournament. But now we're looking at majors coming up. We're looking, we're looking at next week. We're looking at the PGA in Tulsa. In May. So we've got some stuff coming up quickly. And so as the number one player in the world who's trending the right way, does he keep rolling with this? And we're going to have to see. He's pretty, he's still pretty young. Does he succumb to some pressure? We'll have to see how this all pans out. But everything, like you're saying, Bernie, it all indicates that that things are going to go the right way. And he hits it far. He's very consistent with his ball striking. He plays that cut, like I said, very much like Colin Morikawa, who kind of commits to going left to right and has done very well. He seems to putt it very well. So there's not a whole lot that he doesn't do well. So it could be a very, very good run for Scottie Scheffler here. And it'll be, I think it's exciting because he's fun to watch too. It's not somebody that you can root against.
And there's only been 6 players in the history of the PGA Tour that have ever been number one in the world at age 25 or younger. And that's Tiger, Rory, Jon Rahm, Jordan Spieth, and Justin Thomas. And he's the 3rd fastest age-wise ever to get there besides Woods and Spieth. It's just remarkable. I'm still pissed to this day that I think it was 2018 or 19, I'd reached out to him to be on our radio show back when we were on the air, and he agreed and then blew us off. And he still hasn't responded since then. So I'm still kind of upset with him. Your takeaway from what your thoughts on match play, and we see it in the Ryder Cup, we see it in the President's Cup, we see it here. Do you think it's something that we need to see more of, or what are your thoughts about that?
I think we're perfect. I'm good. I mean, that's plenty of match play for me. I think that I like the match play. Obviously love the Ryder Cup. I enjoy watching a USAM. This is fun, but I don't know that we need more match play events. I certainly don't think we need like team match play tournaments or anything like that, which, there has been discussion about some of that kind of stuff. I think that the game is based, the pro game is based on, if you look, the PGA Championship obviously used to be match play long time ago, but that's a long time ago. I think professional golf is based on 72 holes of stroke play and who shoots the lowest score. So there is and I think they do it well by kind of doing the different groupings and stuff. That it's just not a one and done. But just like I guess March Madness, you can lose some players that you might have thought or predicted is going to be later down the line. Although the four guys that made it to the last day, they were all really good players.
One of the biggest takes I took away from this is the fact. Well, a couple of things, but the Richard Bland story is pretty funny. 49-year-old guy from England who's 3rd time ever playing on tour ends up, making it into a match with Dustin Johnson, and that's why I'm bringing this up. And then he gets beat by Dustin Johnson, and one guy, I forget his name, came out on social media, a big Golf Digest writer, and basically ripped Richard Bland to shreds because saying like Dustin Johnson would be on the first tee and this guy would, walk through the crowd and Dustin would say, "Excuse me, sir, there's a tournament going on," thinking this guy didn't belong, but he did belong and he did very well. And he was trying to become top 50 in the world so he could get to play in the Masters. And he ended up, getting into the playoffs, and he ended up finishing 53rd And the Masters can still offer him an invite because they can invite anybody they want.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I brought this up is when Johnson had to play for third and fourth place yesterday, which it's $175,000. It meant, okay. I mean, that's a lot of money, but he could have cared less, and you could just see his demeanor like, I don't want to play this. In my opinion, they've played enough golf. Nobody cares about third and fourth place. I didn't care. You didn't care. Dustin Johnson didn't care. I think they should get rid of that third and fourth deal. Don't you think?
Well, yeah, and I think, a consolation game, if you want to call it that, or a consolation match. Yeah, I don't think we need a third place match at all. I think you have that last day, and the guys that get to the finals play, and then the other guy, it's done. So I think that's very um, anticlimactic, and I do think that you're right. I don't think Dustin could have cared less, and it kind of, it was sloppy golf, and um, yeah, it's enough golf. There's enough golf. They started on Wednesday. Maybe I remember on Wednesday you texted me. I'm like, oh my god, I forgot that it started today. It's a
I
lot.
did.
It's a yeah. It's a lot of golf and a lot, and it's nice to have that extra day because there is something to watch. But I don't think we need to watch a third place match on Sunday afternoon. There's other things going on.
I think the only reason they do that, Dahlby, I think the only reason they do that is for the fact that they had to cover, if NBC or whoever, Paul Azinger, oh God, he's terrible again this week. If they had to cover one match for 18 holes, I don't think that they'd be going to commercial every 30 seconds, or they'd be talking to somebody different that had nothing to do with this for the whole entire show. So I think that's why they have a third and fourth place match, so they can like at least spin off of what's going on in the main thing and go back to the third and fourth place. But yeah, Dustin Johnson, he would have given. I bet you he would have given $178,000 just to not play in that thing and just be done with it.
Yeah.
Yep. There was another tournament this week that Corn Ferry Tour grad Chad Ramey won. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but it was a pretty cool moment from Ben Martin and everybody that I've talked to in the last couple days. And when I say everybody, like 4 people, said that this Ben Martin, and I've never met him, maybe you have, is one of the nicest guys, if not the nicest guy on the PGA Tour. Here's a guy that came out of college, got to the tour real quick, had success, lost his card, got his card back, now has what they call past champion status, got in this tournament this week, opposite field event, I get it. Had the lead after 18, had the lead after 36, had the lead after 54, made double bogey on the first hole starting the round. He agreed that him and his caddy misjudged and should have hit 8-iron instead of 7, hit it in a bad spot, made double. Anyway, hits great drive on 18, great second shot to about 5 feet, needs to make the 5-footer to go in a playoff and misses. And like he said, it wasn't a life-changing moment because golf is not life-changing for him. It's all about his family and things like that. But they interviewed him right after the round, and it was a 4-minute interview. And if you haven't got a chance to see it, go to Twitter or social media or whatever. He wanted to win this tournament so bad, the emotions got to him at the end because he missed the 5-footer to get into a playoff. And, he doesn't have much status out there. He's going to get to play this week because he top 10. But have you ever met the guy? Because I tell you what, I've never met him, never really followed him, but I'm now a big fan.
Yeah, no, Troy's played with Ben a couple times, so I've got to follow Ben, and he's a nice guy. I don't know if he's a good guy. I know that it kind of happened fast. His success coming out of college kind of happened fast, and then it kind of, sometimes you get beat up a little bit, and obviously if you're playing out of past champions, that means you've won on the PGA Tour, so you are a very good player, and it just goes to show, and Bernie, I say it so many times, it's hard to be the leader and sleep on the lead after on Saturday night and win that tournament on Sunday. It just doesn't seem to happen that much. And it shoots 2 under par on a fairly easy golf course, where the rest of the week it came pretty easy to him. It was much easier. Chad Ramey, shoots 67, which is a, good round of golf, but it isn't like he went out to shoot 63 to come, running by. It was 67. And so, tough for Ben. Maybe it's not life changing for these guys, but for Chad, who's coming off the Corn Ferry Tour, this is a very big deal for him. He goes from 120th in the FedEx standings to 35th. And the interesting thing, Bernie, is he's made, since he started in the fall, coming off Corn Ferry, he's made 6 cuts. He's missed 8. So he's missed more than he's made, but, and you kind of made a, you made a remark, well, it's a smaller field event. He's 35th on the FedEx, over 300 and some points. So he's in a great position now. Obviously he's won. Tied 17th in Bermuda last fall. That's a small event. Tied 5th in Puerto Rico 3 weeks ago. That's a small event, and then wins Punta Cana. So he's made all his fortunes so far on the PGA Tour in these, half point or 2/3 points events. So, hats off to him, because and you love these guys that come off the Corn Ferry and make their way onto the PGA Tour. But it's amazing to me that it's been the smaller events that he's cashed in on.
You're right. I do. I love the kind of like Monday Q, my buddy Monday Q. I like the backstories. You can watch the top elite golfers, week in and week out and things like that. But when an opportunity arises for a Chad Ramey, a Ben Martin, whoever it might be, even your boy, O'Hare, who's, he gets in some tournaments, but he's forced to play in some of these things. If Sean won, I'm sure Sean has enough money, he can do whatever he wants, but his goal is to get, full status back on the PGA Tour. And if he has to go down to these tournaments and try to do that, that's what they have to do. And, it's cool that, the Ramey deal, you're right. He's 35th now. He's going to be, there's only 17 events left, which is hard to believe. There's only 17 events left, I think, or 18 events left on the PGA Tour. He's going to be in the finals. He's going to make it to the Tour finals, the first stage or whatever. He's now got a card for the rest of the year, this year, 2 more years. He can play in anything he wants, except that, well, he can't get in Augusta because it was an opposite field event. But those are the cool stories that I enjoy about following the game of golf as close as I do. You can talk about Scottie Scheffler, number 1 player in the world all day long. But what gets lost is the stories of the other guys that are either trying to, A, retain status on the PGA Tour, because a lot of these guys that come off the Corn Ferry Tour or through the tour school can't get in some of these events. They can't get in Colonial. They can't get in Arnold Palmer. They can't get in Waste Management. So they're forced to play, in these events, which I'm glad that they're there. And we have one more coming up in Reno or in, a couple 3 months that I'm glad opportunities happen for some of these guys. But that's the cool thing about golf. That's, I've always said, and I'll always say this until the day that they put me in a grave, is you can take the best player at your club. I don't care who he is. And the club champion for the last 5 years, I don't care who it is. And you can put him up against a guy in the Corn Ferry Tour or a guy that's 200th on the FedEx Cup. And your guy at the club is going to get his ass completely white solid.
Oh yeah, there's no question. There's just it's a different thing. And then you talk about these stories, Bernie. Did you see who was low at the Monday qualifier in San Antonio today?
Aaron Baddeley?
Yes. And so you talk about a player who's trying to find his way. There's another one, and Aaron Baddeley was he's a huge name. As a 17-year-old kid, winning the Australian Open as an amateur, as a kid, as a baby, basically, and now having to show up on a Monday at some place in San Antonio to try to get in the tournament. And it's not like, I mean, it's a good tournament. It's not the biggest tournament in the world, the Valero. So it'll be interesting to see if he can ride some momentum, by getting in this week, and hopefully he does. That's a another good guy that you'd hope that would do well. But there's been sort of an up and down over the last 5 to 7 years with his game, where it just hasn't gone like he probably would have thought it was.
Here's a great story about Aaron Baddeley. So I think he's 19, and it's his first year on the now Corn Ferry Tour. And him and I actually became acquaintances, and we joked around a lot, because he was the first guy in all my years out there that had his caddy take a bucket, like a garbage pail, down the range. Okay, there's 70 guys hitting balls, and he'd go to the far left usually the far left is where he'd go, and his caddy would then go out about 80 or 85 yards. It was always a specific number, and his caddy would sit there with this bucket, and Badley would hit balls to that 85 or 90 for hours on end. And I thought to myself, man, this is a grinder right here. And he had success out there real early. He lost it, I think, in a playoff, or he finished second, like his first event or second event out there on tour. And him and I became like acquaintances, and we always joked around and things like that. But you're right. There's another story of a guy who won the Australian Open at 17. The whole country of Australia, or the continent, whatever you want to call it, is behind this guy, and he became the face of that. You had Greg Norman. Here's the next Greg Norman. And he has success in the PGA Tour. He's won, and then all of a sudden, you just don't see him. All of a sudden, he's gone. And then, like you said, now he Monday qualifies. That's another big story. He's a good dude, but I'll never forget him just hitting balls for hours on hours, and his caddy just standing out there on the left side of the driving range, picking up balls left and right.
Well, and I like that as a drill, Bernie. And I do that a lot with the junior golfers, is that if you can get good at one or two distances inside your full swing, some kind of a partial shot. And if you can, like, let's say Aaron used to hit 85-yard shots. If you can just know that I take it to here, I go through, and it's 85. I take it to here, I go through, and it's 85. Well, then in competition, exactly, you kind of want that distance. But if you have 75, okay, I go a little less, and I go a little bit more, a little bit less here, and I've got 75. I've got 95. I go a little more, and I go a little bit more, and now I've got 95. So he's developing a reference point for a partial swing that will allow him to actually find other distances as well. So that's a great drill for a young kid. It's really a great drill for anybody, because you think about, even on your Tuesday game, are you guys play with different guys sometimes. And I would venture to say from 75, 85 yards, there's times where you're out there and some guy that's paired with you, misses the green from that distance. And it's like, you can't do that if you want to be a decent player. And so, that's a great drill. And you mentioned the Reno tournament. There are two more of the opposite field events where these guys off the Corn Ferry are going to have a chance, and one is they're both in July, basically back to back, but they're going to play the Barbasol Championship, which is in Kentucky, and then the next week they go to Truckee, California, Reno, for the Barracuda. And so those are opportunities for those guys off the Corn Ferry, or a guy like Sean O'Hare, who's playing out, Ben Martin, who's playing out of past champions, to get hot for a week and change their status for the next season. Big deal.
All right, I'm going to put you right to the point here. I know you love when I do this stuff to you. Do you think that a guy coming off the Korn Ferry Tour or even Tour School, and I'll combine them because there's 50 of them, do you think something needs to change to where these guys don't have such limited access to play in tour events? Because if you look at like what you just said, Chad Ramey was a top 3 or 4 guy coming off the Korn Ferry Tour, if I'm not mistaken, and he's only played in 14 tournaments. Some of these guys like David Skins, who won or finished, he won one of the tournaments in the playoffs, and he's only been in 10 or 12. Is it fair to those guys to only get so many starts? And I guess the reason I'm asking this, in your opinion, 125 guys get to keep their cards. Is that too many?
So I think that 125 guys keeping their card, that number maybe could be a little less, but it's been 125 for a while. We're not going to go back to the days where it was 60 and there were rabbits on Monday, although in some ways that was kind of probably pretty cool. But I think that that's for the policy board and the PGA Tour to look at. And quite frankly, the policy board is going to be guys that have their PGA Tour status, so they're not going to be giving spots back probably. So I think that that's going to be a tough one, but I do think that I think these guys have their opportunity, but they've got to play well. And so I don't think that they need more starts per se. I think if you're good enough, you find a way to get out there. And I mean, there's 125 guys that are pretty damn good, among the top 200 players in all of golf. I'm, because there's other guys playing Europe that don't play the PGA Tour, but it's a hard job. It's a job these guys don't want to give away, and they're really good. So it needs to be hard to get in there. And so I think, though, there's ways that you can get in there. Good play will get you out there. And you're right. Maybe there's only, maybe Chad's only gotten 14 starts, but he's missed 8 cuts and he found a way. And there's other guys that if they've got 14 starts and they can't find somewhere to start, they can go back, play a couple Korn Ferries, work their way, or they're back into the Korn Ferry finals in the fall and they work their way back. So no, I don't think there needs to be a huge adjustment. What do you think? I'm sure you think there needs to be an adjustment.
I look at it from a couple different standpoints. I look at it like I 100% agree with you, what you just said. You got to take advantage of the opportunities when you get into an event. I can't disagree with you of that. I mean, if you get in 14 events and you miss 14 cuts, you know what? Back to the Korn Ferry Tour or wherever, you might not even get back there. But I get what you're saying. I look at it like you've just earned a job. You've been promoted. Your boss walked in and said, okay, you're not the assistant general manager anymore. You're the general manager. Okay. Congratulations. And all of a sudden now you're not the general manager because the director of operations now decides that he wants to run the show. This is a restaurant reference. Because when these guys get their cards, and they make such a big deal about it, that the 50 guys get their cards off the Korn Ferry Tour. If you're number 50 on that list, hell, you're going to play the first 2, maybe 3 events in the fall series. Maybe you might get in the 3rd, and then you're not going to play again until Pebble Beach. And you're basically a Korn Ferry Tour member again that has some status on the PGA Tour. And I think what happens then is you could have a couple of tournaments of success on the Korn Ferry Tour, but then, let's say and I'm just going to give a number. Let's say you're 30th on the points list on the Korn Ferry Tour, and now all of a sudden here comes Punta Cana or here comes Reno. What do? Do you go play in a tour event because it's a tour event, or do you stay back out where you're at and continue just to, trend in the same direction? Because the results are going to be at the end of the year. If you go do the Corn Ferry, you're going to get your PGA Tour card again, but be back in the same spot you just were. So I get everything you're saying, and I totally agree. I mean, with you have to prove yourself, but some of these guys they're in quicksand because they don't know what to do, and they're back and forth, back and forth. And a perfect example is Peter Uihlein. I mean, here's a guy that he's played a couple of good tournaments on the Corn Ferry Tour, then gets opportunities to play in the PGA Tour, so he skips the Corn Ferry Tour events, doesn't play well in the PGA Tour events, and now has lost 10 spots on the Corn Ferry Tour and can't get in a PGA Tour event. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, it does make sense. I'm listening, but I'm also looking at something. And we talk about 125, right? And so let's say we're going to say, well, it's just 100 or whatever. So if we go back 2 seasons to 2020, final FedEx standings. Okay. So I'm going to just do who won. And I just did this. I just said, well, who was 120? So 120 2 years ago was Scott Stallings. So 2 years ago, do you say Scott Stallings, you're not good enough to be on the PGA Tour? You didn't earn your way? Seeing where he's playing today, he's played pretty damn good golf over the last 2 seasons. 125 2 seasons ago, Bo Hoag. You just won, right? So all I'm saying is 2 years ago, do you take his job away and say, well, you're not good enough. We need to open up spots for somebody else. So then you throw them back, and maybe they're never to be heard from again, because that does happen. I'm just saying that's some pretty damn good play from those 2 guys over the past 2 years to think that hypothetically, you and I are talking about throwing them away.
Okay, so how about this? Let's look at how about this then? Are we giving too many cards out on the Corn Ferry Tour? Because I'm going to say no, we're not. But maybe we are, because these guys can't get in. Maybe we only give 20 cards. Is that fair? Because if we only give 20 cards, then that a majority of the 20 are going to get in events. Because honestly, and I mean, anybody that follows the game close enough, and if you're 31 to 50 on that prioritized list coming off the Corn Ferry Tour, you're not getting in tournaments. You're on the Corn Ferry Tour again. And maybe, and I hate to say it, if they're going to keep the number at 125, then make it the top 10 on the season tour point list, take 10 out of tour school, and then send everybody back to the Corn Ferry. I think it's hard to juggle your schedule. Do I play here? Do I play there? I got in this event, but should I really do this? Is my game good enough to win? Should I stay out in the? I mean, that's my whole point. I mean,
yeah.
I think
and you've got Taylor Montgomery last year that chose to play in the U.S. Open, and he made the cut in the U.S. Open, and he doesn't get any credit for that on the Corn Ferry, and he misses in 2 different ways.
Right.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one to swallow, because you don't get many chances to play in a U.S. Open, but you have to know that this is the game right now, and you better, again, not trying to make light of this, but if you play really, really good golf will take care of anything. Good golf takes care of any of these situations.
Phil Mickelson's not going to play in the Masters. Shocked or not shocked?
I was slightly surprised. There are those that say that possibly he's suspended, but in the case of the Masters, that's not, the Masters, they invite who they want. That's not a PGA Tour. It's on the PGA Tour schedule, but it's not, the committee invites who they want to invite. It's not the PGA Tour making the invitations to the Masters. So Augusta National, if they wanted Phil Mickelson to play, they can invite him, and I think they did, and I think he turned it down. So
he did.
It's not a situation where he couldn't have played. Now there's other people that think maybe he's taking some kind of a kind of a time off because he maybe mentally he's not right or whatever. It's hard. It's a tough one, because you just never know with Phil, kind of what he's thinking or what his motive is. And it's to me, it was surprising. I feel like, it's too bad that he's not playing, because I think it's fun to watch him putt those greens at Augusta. But, it'll be a great week with or without Phil Mickelson.
Okay, before I get to the next one, so I want to continue on this. Doesn't he need to come out and get in front of this quickly? I mean, quickly. I mean, he hasn't done anything yet, but I think he needs to, in my opinion, strictly mine, he needs to come out and address what the hell's going on. I mean, there's two parts of me, and when I waved and I said, yeah, I think he's suspended, I really do. But there's a part of me too that thinks he's already signed a contract to go over to Saudi Arabia. And I think that's why we haven't heard or seen anything of him in a while.
Yeah, and I've not thought that. And maybe you could be right. I've never thought that. You could be right. And if that's the case, and he wants to, if he's going to get paid a ton of money and that's what he wants to do, that's his choice. But with regards to him having to say something, I was thinking more along the lines of, if he wants to get back on the PGA Tour, whether he is suspended or not, everybody likes a comeback story, right?
Yeah.
Everybody likes a comeback story.
Yep.
So 4 to 6 weeks from now, Phil Mickelson comes out, and he's given it some time, and he's like, I was suffering from, a lot of things. I made some bad choices. I needed to go work on my mental health. I created a situation where I hurt myself, my family, my people, blah, blah, blah. I sought help from experts to get me well. If he waits 4 or 6 weeks, is that better than doing it tomorrow?
You could be right. Yeah, I mean, you're right. The comeback story. I mean, there's a lot of Phil fans that he might have lost. There's a lot of Phil fans that don't care. There's a lot of Phil fans that probably, the comeback guy. It's like the Deshaun Watson thing in Cleveland. I mean, you saw today, all the money that he got, and and all the bad press, his press conference, and Jim Thome gives up his season tickets for the Browns this year because of the signing. But then you got all these other people who are like, give him a second chance. But since all this stuff has been thrown out of court, but that's a touchy situation because there's assault issues and things like that. But yeah, you could be right. Wait 4 more 6 weeks. Yeah, you could be right on that. And then I'm back. I needed a break. I'm back. It's everybody deserves a second chance, or most people deserve a second chance. Tiger Woods was caught this week walking at the Medalist Club in Florida with Joe LaCava. Tiger is in the field still right now at Augusta. Do you think he plays Augusta? I think he does now.
Well, I think he's probably damn well considering it, and I think the hard thing about Augusta is I mean, obviously for Tiger, there's the golf part of it, but that's one facet. You got to feel like your game is in shape to go play that golf course, because he does not want to at this point be a ceremonial participant in this thing. He's not going to do that. I think the hard part is the walk. It's hilly. It's hilly. You've been there, Bernie?
I have not. Tried. Remember, I got kicked out. Drove through the gate, and they asked us to leave. All intentions were to get there and look at the place, but that security guard said, nope, just, pull the car right on in and make a U-turn and go ahead and leave. So, yeah, I've been there, just never walked the place.
It is, you can tell there's hills when you watch it on TV, but it is starting from the first hole. It is up. Second hole is down. You're kind of going around. Sixth hole is down. Ninth hole is down and then back up. 10 is way down, and then you got to work your way from way down back up. So I do think with Tiger, there is a fitness, and I know you're just walking. I get that. But, he's been through a lot, and it hasn't been that long. So, but if he's walking, that's a good sign. I'm sure he wants to play. I'm going to say he probably hasn't made up his mind yet.
Okay. It's fair enough. Yeah, and you're probably right about that. All right, I've waited 2 weeks to do this. I didn't want to do this.
Oh boy,
this hurts. We didn't do a show last week. We didn't do a show last week. We didn't do a show last week, Dahlby, because you were with some family stuff going on, and it would have been Schu and I were going to do it, and then I realized that Schu had the right pick in who you got, and I didn't know if I could stand 40 or 45 minutes of in the back of my mind. We could have talked about whatever. We could have talked about politics. We could have talked about the New York Mets. We could have talked about whatever. But in the back of my mind, I was worried about, how it was going to be when we got to the Who You Got segment, because he got 6 points. He gets 6 points for the victory. And here's the new update right now. And this is bad.
Looks beautiful. Looks beautiful.
He's got a huge Dahlby. I'm the one that follows golf more than anybody. You teach people on the PGA Tour, and Schu's nickname all over social media is the casual golf fan, CGF, casual golf fan. But yet he's just kicking our ass, and I'm very disappointed in everything. But congratulations, Schu, on the 6 points. That's the first one we've had here in a while. So
thank you.
You're first up this week for Who You Got.
That also means, for those of you that maybe are just tuning in for the first time, it means I can pick Sam Burns again. So when we pick a guy, he's out. We don't have him any further. So
that's correct.
If you pick the winner of a tournament, so not only did I beat you guys, but my guy won the tournament. I just want to remind everybody, Sam Burns, the winner of the Valspar the week that I picked him. I get to pick him again. I am not going to do that this week for the Valero Texas Open, but I did tell Dahlby a little bit of a spoiler in the pre-show. I told him I already have my pick for the Masters. I'm ready to go. I have my pick ahead of time. So for this week, you guys know I like to do this. I like to pick a guy who played well the previous week.
Wait. How do you have your pick for the Masters already? You have to somehow beat Dahlby and this idiot right here.
I'm
you
on
somehow need to beat
3 weeks in a row. I've won.
He's worried.
I'm not really
He's
worried.
not worried.
All right. So okay. Who do you got? So okay. All right. So let's do this. Pick who you got this week and who you got. And then tell us who you're sponsored by.
No.
Express,
no. I'm not giving away the free winners. Are you kidding me?
That.
I'm not giving away free winners. But you guys know I like to pick guys who played well the previous week but didn't win. They came close and they're playing well. Give me Corey Connors this week to win at the Valero Texas Open.
All right, Corey Connors, and just for everybody that knows, so I just got to make before you make your. Well, go ahead, Dahlby. You beat me. You finished second because you had Hovland, and then I'm going to tell a funny story on how I got to Sean O'Hare. So you're up. So he's got Connors. You're up for second pick this week, and who you got?
So I actually was thinking about Corey Connors because I kind of, sadly, I'm agreeing with Schu, which maybe that's a good thing because when my picks have been so bad, maybe me thinking that Corey Connors is a good pick is a good sign for us, Bernie. But I am going to go with somebody that played well last week. He did not lose a match, but
okay. All right.
He failed to advance through his first pod. He was 2-0-1. Maverick McNeely, Maverick this week at San Antonio.
I like that. Okay, so I just gotta tell this before I make my pick. So 2 weeks ago, when Schubert picked Burns, I had two players in mind that week: Burns and another player. When Schubert took Burns, I had a complete meltdown and forgot who the other player was. So I know in this league, we get ridiculed if you pick somebody that's not in the field. So I panicked. And I knew that Sean O'Hare, and I was rooting for, big Sean O'Hare fan. I knew that Sean O'Hare was in the field, and I didn't remember because I didn't have the field list in front of me. So I completely panicked and picked Sean O'Hare. Now, do I regret taking him? No. He missed the cut by 1, played well the second round. But I just want to, I completely panicked because I was going to take Burns, and then Schubert took him, and I didn't want to give Schubert credit for, because I don't like give Schubert credit for much anyway. I didn't want to give him credit for.
Before you panicked?
I don't remember. But I didn't have the field list in front of me. No, and I panicked.
You got to pull the Dahlby. You got to have the list open while the segment's going on. Yes. Dahlby makes his picks 2 seconds before. I had a piece of paper that I left in another room. I had everything. Well,
he didn't. I panicked.
Dalby picked Maverick McNeely 2 seconds before he told us on the air. He didn't have this pick pre-prepared. You can have the list in front of you.
Yeah, I didn't have it. I don't have it now, but I know.
This is what I hear is excuses.
Listen, I have 3 people that I'm trying to figure out here, and I'm coming up with it. So I'm going to take a guy that also played well last week. Give me the answer. Give me Abraham answer. That's my pick for this week, and who you got? All right, Dahlby, before we end this fine podcast, anything you'd like to say before we go? You're not going, I guess you're not going this week to Valero since Troy's in it.
No, but I'm rooting hard.
Are you going to New Orleans?
I am rooting hard. Last
Are you going to New Orleans?
To go to Augusta. What?
Are you going to New Orleans?
No, so Troy, who's not qualified for the Masters, he would need to, I guess, win or get some kind of special invitation for next week. So he's got to play well. So, and I always want Troy to play well, obviously, but the schedule right now would be, I would go to Hilton Head the week after the Masters.
Oh, okay. Hey, real quick before we go. So talking about New Orleans, it's a team event. Hovland and Morikawa are a team. Really? Is that fair?
Yeah. That
would be my pick. That would be my pick if I had a pick for that. That's who I would take.
Aren't you going to make fun of my screen? You said you were going to make fun of me on the show, Schubert.
Well, I mean, you clearly the production budget you have spent all on your bad picks, so you can't increase of whatever. I don't know what's going on with your webcam today, in which it feels like there's humidity in the bunker.
Fuzzy.
Yeah, there's a little humidity in the.
You know what this costs to make?
That's a very expensive production. I understand that.
Yes.
Yeah, and based on the who you got leaderboard, you're not doing very well in the picks. So it's the production.
Well,
values.
just so you know, and I don't know if I've told you all this, but the last 10 tournaments left in the season are all triple points.
Oh, good.
Yeah. All right, Schubert, thanks, buddy boy. Dahlby, thanks. Have a good week. Next week is show 27. And for all of you that know me very well, I will have a jersey on next week. Just might not be the player that you think it is. Have a good week, everybody.
Hit them straight, everybody.